In this episode, we are looking at the hardwires of victim and bad attitude. Pain, agony, despair. We have all been a victim of it in one way or another.
I discovered this cool place where I can teach you about the victim hardwire, the triangular way of thinking. It's a secondary hardwire and it's easy to understand. It stems from a primary cause, which would be unconducive parenting, a perpetrator, parent that is victimizing the child, or from abuse, a perpetrator that is causing the victim. Abuse is the biggest one. But it can also come from mental matter state where people are in anxiety and they take it out on somebody else. Then there's a last one that could be addiction. So somebody with an addiction could create a victim hardwire in somebody else. So on secondary level, the victim hardwire plays itself out in two ways, either an external victim or an internal victim. The external victim is in a space where externally there's stuff that is victimizing the human. So he's in an ecosystem for chance, where the person is being victimized all the time. Not good enough, not good enough, not safe enough. I'm not good enough, I don't believe in myself, and that pattern is perpetuated and that keeps the victim hardwire just going. Then secondly, the internal Vic. The internal Vic is where you as a human take over the role of chastising yourself internally inside your mind. Stinking thinking, I call it. So you are telling yourself you're not good enough, I'm not good enough. So you take over that role and now you work harder and trying better to be that perfectionist, but you just never can achieve that level. And you just keep on doing that to yourself. And that's a IVIC. So let's look at how the pattern plays out in the brain. So it plays out in a triangular way. So humans in a victim mindset almost dwell in it. They almost enjoy being that victim. They get some satisfaction out of it and they don't want to let go of it because they don't know how to rewire themselves with an enabling pattern that can get them to optimum human. So the first one is rescue. You play out a personality type where you are the nice person. You are doing people favors. You will be making sandwiches for your kids. You will be bringing the plate of food for your husband. You will be doing all these nice things, and you just keep on doing these nice things. And this is the one corner of a rescue. So anybody that is nice, very likely, not always, will have a victim hardwire pattern, because you must look at the other sides of how that persona plays out. So the second part of it is the victim. And that one is, after everything I've done for you, I've worked so hard and I'm doing you so much favors and you're not giving me enough recognition and I'm feeling sorry for myself and I'm going to eat some worms. So it plays out in different type of ways of needing recognition and craving for recognition and feeling that I didn't get enough. I was not treated the way I should have been treated. So that is the other side of the thinking pattern. The third part is what we call the persecutor. I'm writing for persecutor. The persecutor is where you then go into the upper high ground and think you can judge people, or think you have got the right to speak judgments over people and be criticizing towards humans. So you will make statements and that will eventually make you to be a subtle gossiper. Gossipers are victims. They are going for the other victim, and we call that a Vic clique, who lends their ear out so that they can talk about that thing because they think they have got the right to actually make a judgment and a statement. Nobody has got that right to make judgments over people, but this is the pattern that the victim mind plays out. The first next hardwire is bad attitude, and it comes from this corner reasoning style, criticizing, negative, all these stubborn passive aggression and all these bad attitude hardwires. Then vengefulness, especially if a person is more two-dimensional, the Z brain dominant, then they regurgitate and they think the whole time, why me? Why did it happen to me, that they victimized me and that they don't give me? And now the person actually is going into vengefulness. The next hardwire is heartlessness. So heartlessness is where you really lose empathy, you lose compassion, you lose your care for human beings, and you just go into self-preservation. You become a sociopath or a psychopath. And that is when you've been really seriously abused in life. Then from abuse it causes the victim, and then from there you will just destroy anything in your wake, and you'll do it in smart ways. So even wolf in sheep's clothing and narcissism are two hardwires that definitely stem from the victim hardwire. Then lastly, ecosystems. So what happens? The victim goes and looks for people that can victimize each other, or that can dwell in each other's pity, because the victim hardwire is difficult to break, because there's something nice about it that you almost want to retain by being the victim. You use it to manipulate, and you use it also this side to gossip. So you become you look for cliques, you look for humans who you can gossip with, you look for places where you can dwell in, you actually look for that alcoholic husband again that hurt you. So you perpetuate that cycle in an ecosystem. So a victim goes and looks for the wrong ecosystems and then worsens and perpetuates that cycle where the dog dwells in its vomit. It's a very difficult hardwire to break, and our South African population, on the statistics of the hardwires reports, are very, very high. So there's definitely something wrong that happens on primary level that's causing this victim hardwire in our minds, and that we carry into adulthood and we live throughout, and then we repeat that cycle with our children again, and then it becomes part of our culture.
The victim hardwire plays out in many different forms. Although it's often very subtle, the effects of it is immense. Stephen will provide us with further insight of the victim culture.
In most instances, more often than not, it always stems from unconducive parenting, where someone had been victimized in the past. They were beaten, they went through a rough patch, and they eventually later in life make it. And when they make it, they almost play Superman type of character where they rescue everybody. Imagine a mother that had raised children alone under almost impossible circumstances, and they go an extra mile for their child, which is what every parent supposedly should do. But eventually now, with time, when the child has grown and has turned out well, the parent has got these expectations and now turns into a victim that, oh, I did this for you and I did that for you. I was there for you when nobody was there. Remember when you were sick and you needed that? So now the parent feels like a victim because they have so much expectation from the child. And when the expectation is not met, the poor child didn't know that I'm doing all this going extra mile because you expect something in return. And when this is not met, now it turns into persecution, where now judgment is passed, and now it becomes anger and disappointment and persecution. Because someone had been a victim, he wants to rescue everything. And then when they feel they are not being fulfilled, the expectations are not met, now they feel like victims, and now later turning into persecution now, where they judge and condemn and, oh, you won't go to heaven because I was there for you and you're not there for me. And the cycle continues of this victim hardwire.
In this example, an innocent situation has triggered a bad attitude in the husband. Unconducive parenting is most probably the stem of the mistrust found in this relationship.
What the hell is going on here?
I can explain.
You're bringing guys in my house. I don't care what you have to shush. Let me speak. What is it doing in my house? What is it doing in my house? I am done with you. I am finished. I am taking the kids away and I'm leaving. You never seeing them again. Hello, Kelly speaking. All right, I'll be right with you. And you, get out of here. Sorry. Okay, get out of here. Get out.
Hey, Caleb, buddy.
About time.
Sorry, man, I'm almost done. Just give me a
Don't
few
you ever
minutes.
watch?
Man, I'm sorry.
Caleb's bad attitude causes a ripple effect on those around him.
Caleb.
The bad attitude hardwire. Bad attitude mostly comes from anxiety. When a person is displaying bad attitude like rebelliousness, negativity, criticism, passive aggression, picking a fight for no reason, dragging your feet, saying whatever, just batting everything that the authoritative figures say to you, just batting it back. You're just fighting humans when they come with their statements and their arguments. You don't like authority, rebelliousness, cynical. So what causes bad attitude? Bad attitude is usually caused by vengefulness. When a child gets abused and has bad parenting, unconducive parenting, and develops vengefulness because of what somebody did to them, they will automatically develop bad attitude hardwire as well. So it is an automatic next level. And then that then gets connected to a narcissistic hardwire to say that I will now show you, if you've done that to me, I will also do that to other people. And then that egocentric behavioral pattern together with egotism and together with bad attitude comes together, and then it forms a very nasty behavioral pattern that steps over people and that just goes arrogantly through life. But the second reason for bad attitude that is actually in every facet is anxiety. There's anxiety behind the person, there's fear, and the fear creates this blown up type of sense of self that bats people away from them and that spooks people away. So that is fear. Then the next version of bad attitude, where it comes from, is from parenting styles. When a parent raises their child as a spoiled brat, then you are going to have a sense of entitlement and a demanding, and I want and you must give me, and the bad attitude is going to develop. You can also see it in the workplace, where there was one employee that got all the attention and now there's more people that's appointed, and then suddenly that bad attitude, the naughty child syndrome, displays itself, and because there's a need for attention that causes that. And if you know what it is, then you can give attention to that bad attitude.
Here are some practical examples of how this plays out in everyday life.
So this hardwire is called bad attitude. It is usually, in most instances, triggered by a scenario where somebody had been enjoying the spotlight, whether from the world of sports. This person was a champion, they were winning awards, they were winning medals, and all of a sudden there's a new player into their team and who is even better than them, and now they feel like all of a sudden the glory is less on them, and now it goes to the new person who is rightfully more talented. And in such instances, it goes an extreme as far as going into people now being drug addicts. And sometimes it can never even be fixed. You find the drug addiction even destroys their life. And in other instances, you also find people that don't care to a certain extent, that even when things under normal circumstances are wrong, because they don't care anymore. They will just say, whatever, I don't care, talk to the hand, I'm not bothered. And we also see it in little kids, like when there is a child in the house, especially they are the only child and they are getting attention, mommy or daddy always celebrates them and they are the only thing that matters. And all of a sudden there's a new baby that is born in the family, and now the spotlight moves, and now there's all of a sudden baby this, baby that, oh, bring the bottle for the baby. So that also brings a lot of bad attitude, and if parents are not careful, it can grow with the child to an extent that it can no more be easy to be handled. So those are typical cases of bad attitude, which stems from incidents whereby the spotlight and the attention moves from where it used to be to a new subject. Another typical example of bad attitude is when you find an individual who is more on the creative side of things, who wants to explore and experiment and believes that they're going to make bigger things. And the next person would oppose them and say, it's too risky, don't do it. But then because they believe that it has to be done, regardless of them being told not to do it, they just break and say, you know what, I know you're not approving of this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And in most instances, you find that somebody leaves a comfortable, secure job because they have an idea that they want to pursue a business idea. Everybody feels it's risky, but they believe it's worth it. And against all odds, they go and leave comfort into unknown territory. And in most instances, you find that it becomes a success and a great success. And had they stayed there in the secure space, they wouldn't have explored. So people with creative minds and the bigger picture usually also tend to develop bad attitude because now you're forcing them not to. You're putting them in a box. You want them to be a certain category and they just feel, I don't want that. I don't want security. I don't want all that. Just give me a chance and let me do what I want to do. And eventually, in most cases, it ends with a success story. So bad attitude, bad as it is, sometimes great results.
The hardwire of bad attitude can in some situations certainly deliver positive results. However, if your intentions are not carefully considered, then hardwires become the force that keep you from reaching your full potential.